All right, welcome to another edition of Inside Leadership. Today I'm here with Ursula Mentjes. Now, before anyone wonders why I'm wearing a Kentucky shirt, yes, my daughter did get accepted to Kentucky last night, and the first thing she got me was a Kentucky Dad shirt. So yeah, we're gonna pimp the new school here a little bit. So now, that being said, enough, and thank you for that, Hard Ursula. I appreciate that. Enough about that. So Ursula is a best-selling author. She's a business strategist coach, and also, as many women in business are, she's a mother, mother is number one career you have for sure. So Ursula, before we get into the questions, tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah. First of all, John, thanks for having me on your show. Congratulations to your daughter and your family.
Thank you.
That's amazing. I'm trying to raise a third grader. I want him to finish third grade this year. No, I'm just kidding. He's an amazing kiddo. So excited to be here and just to be connecting with your community. My background, so I'm a farm kid from southern Minnesota. I'm back in Minnesota now, but I grew my company originally out in Southern California. And the long and short of it is I majored in psychology and communication. This might be good for your daughter to know because really no one guides you that well. Like you've got to figure it out yourself. So I majored in psychology and communication, got this great liberal arts 4-year degree and realized there wasn't a lot I could do when I graduated. So I was working at Pier 1 Imports making $6.25 an hour back in the day. And my friend Jana, who was an econ major from St. Olaf, came to me one day and she's like, she also worked at Pier 1. She's like, hey, I got an opportunity for us. And I was like, okay, tell me about that. So she transferred us to the Boulder, Colorado Pier 1 Imports location. And we got to live with her aunt and uncle who had just sold their company to IBM for about $10 million. And we're living in the foothills of Boulder in this amazing home with this really cool family. And Jana's uncle Will was one of the most pivotal people in my life. And I didn't know an entrepreneur. I grew up on the farm. I didn't, we certainly, were entrepreneurial minded. We had a small family farm, but it wasn't like running a business, right? It was running a lifestyle. But Jana's uncle Will sat me down one day and he's like, hey, what are your plans? Which was short for, you can't live here forever, guys. And I said, I don't know. I think I want to go to law school. I'm just trying to figure that out. And this is what he said to me, John, and I'll never forget it. He said, get a job in outside sales and you can do anything. You can make as much money as you want. You might be able to have your own company someday if that's what you want. And so I took his advice and miraculously got hired at a tech company and grew from being an outside sales rep to president of a $20 million company by the time I was 27. So 22 to 27, I had this wild ride in outside sales into executive management, being president of this amazing company and learning so much along the way. And the lesson from all of that and what's inspired me to start my own company was I learned how to sell. A lot of people don't know how to sell. Most small business owners don't know how to sell, especially women. Ladies, unfortunately, like no one teaches you how to sell, and it's not a natural thing. And sometimes it's really hard to feel confident in the sales process, especially as women. We just want to give and help and support, and we forget about the receiving, like the money's got to come rolling back in. And so today, and over the last more than 15 years now, I've had a coaching company in different formats. Today we have Ursula Inc. with part of the company called the CEO Table. And that is where we gather CEOs now from all over the world to take their companies to the next level. And it's really, we combine two things: solid business strategy with mindset.
And that's, by the way, ursulainc.co.
Thank you.
We'll get that in there. And it will be, I know we do a lot of this freehand, Ursula. It will be in the credits also. We'll make sure that your contact information is out there because the value you bring to the listeners, there are going to be people out there who need it, and we want to make sure they can get in contact with you. So that's awesome. So from 22 to 27, you turn yourself from a salesperson to the manager of a $20+ million sales organization. How did you transition that into your career as a business coach?
So it's interesting. So at the age of 27, when I became president of the company, I remember feeling super alone. I had this beautiful corner office. It overlooked John Wayne Airport in Orange County, California. It was beautiful. Like in some ways I'd made it. It was like, oh, this is so great. And in other ways I was like, I feel so alone. Like, where are the other CEOs who I can hang out with? I just didn't have that support. And I started looking, like, coaching at that time wasn't what it is today. It was like a very kind of new field. And while I had mentors, I kept thinking, gosh, it'd be so great to have a coach. Started looking into it. And at some point in that, I thought, maybe that's something I actually want to do someday, because I know how lonely it is to run a company by yourself.
And that started it rolling for you.
That started it rolling.
Love it.
I just kept looking into it. And then when we sold the company, I became highly unemployable. Let's put it that way. I wanted to be.
Tell me what that means.
Yeah. I had this great recruiter. I'll never forget him. Nice man, trying to help me. And I just kept telling him, I'm like, hey, listen, I want to be the president of the next $20 million company. Can you find that opportunity? And he's like, sorry to break it to you, but the likelihood of that happening is pretty small. I could maybe get you like a regional management position. I ended up finding like an executive VP position. I interviewed for it. And during that interview, it just hit me. It's like, I cannot work for anyone else. Like, it is no longer in my makeup to be able to do that. And so I went back to the recruiter and I was like, sorry, that's just not a fit. And finally one day he's like, hey, why don't you just start your own company? He kind of was like, it was sort of the takeaway close. What he wanted me to do was take that other job, right? Instead, I went home and I said to my husband, I'm like, I think I just want to start my own company. And of course, my husband was like, have I been telling you that? To my husband, Tim, I've been telling you that. I've been telling you that. And of course, we don't listen to our spouses, but and that's what I did. And that's what I've been doing since.
My spouse would agree with you on that we don't listen to our spouses. So when she listens, I'm sure I'm going to hear about that.
Yeah. She's right.
So what's the best investment that you've made, whether it's time, money, resources, what have you?
Yeah, I love this question. And this is not going to be a big surprise. It is in coaching, because I have literally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, which I'm sure you have as well, in coaches who, whether it's leadership, whether it's business strategy, whether it's marketing, because to me, coaching is a hack. Here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. Who's the coach? Like, who's the who that is going to get me there? And even if the coaching wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, or I could even say like, maybe didn't quite meet my expectations, I still got something amazing from it, right? It still shifted something in me. There's something powerful about someone holding space for you and holding a belief for you that you can do whatever it is that you want to do next.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And you're 100% spot on. How do you close that gap? I'm here. I want to be here. Who has the knowledge? And with that, and with the knowledge is not only it's the knowledge and the understanding of the person that they're looking to help. Because without that connection, I'm sure you found that without that connection, it's really difficult to coach somebody to that next level if you don't have that connection with the client or the coach.
Totally. I believe in
Awesome.
Shared values, right? We have to share values. If we don't, I can't help you, or that coach probably can't help me.
Awesome. So here's one of my favorite questions on this program is, what's one quirk or odd thing about you that others may not know?
Yeah. So I can bale hay better than most people.
That's got to be the Minnesota side of things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can throw a bale from a high wagon into a small door and actually make it in there so that someone else can take that bale and move it along. Awesome.
Love that. And like most of the guests on the show, their quirk really has nothing to do with what they've chosen to do as a profession. I absolutely love that. So what habit do you have that most positively affects your mindset or your life?
Yeah, this is going to be super boring, everybody, but I exercise regularly. I go to my local gym 3 to 4 times a week. And, I listen to podcasts, I do other things, but it's the space where I get really great downloads or ideas, or get to just clear whatever negativity might be grabbing onto me or whatever it is. But working out for just my mental health is critical, but also gives me lots of great ideas.
Love it. So what bad advice do you most often hear in your profession?
I don't like to say bad things, so this is really hard for me. And I had to think about this, John, but the worst advice is when somebody says, just do what that person in your industry is doing because it'll work for you too. Or go get that funnel, or just go do that thing. Like, sometimes that will work, but I think often we think some marketing thing or some other piece is going to be a magic bullet, and it's not. It's part of the overall piece, but it's not the one thing. Sorry, now it might be the one thing to do. Keller Williams. Oh my gosh, love that.
That's not necessarily a plug for a book that everybody listening should read.
I love the one thing, but yeah, I think just trying to do what other people are doing in your industry because you think it's going to work for you too. Like doesn't mean it will. It doesn't mean you have to do what everybody else is doing.
Awesome. So while we're getting on the subject of books, other than the one thing, what book or books do you most often recommend and why?
Yeah. So definitely The One Thing. I do love that book because it's so
Great
focused
book.
and it's like, what are you focusing on? Read it. It's going to make you do something different in your business life. So I love books that inspire you to take action. Of course, old school. So you're asking someone who is addicted to books. Okay. I'm just saying that, John. So I have literally thousands of books in my Kindle and on my shelf. The other one, Think and Grow Rich. Like if you haven't read that and it's not tattered, you're not reading it enough. And that is not one that you just read and you're done. Like you read it forever. The other one, so more current is, and you probably heard of this one, Who Not How. That was my favorite book of 2020. Dan Sullivan. Yeah. Because it's exactly what we were talking about before. Like, here's where I am. Here's where I want to go. Who's the who in between that can help me get there?
Yep. That is so key. Like you said, it's the connection. Anyway, if you haven't read that book, guys, you need to read that book. It's fantastic. So Ursula, what do you do to reset? We all end up at some point, our mind gets in our own way. So how do you reset and reconnect with yourself?
That's a great question. So I think it was two-part. One, I have really great people that I surround myself with in different ways, who a best girlfriend, my husband, one of the master coaches who is like a business partner in my company. I go to them for different things for a reset, but I don't let myself spin very long in the negativity. I mean, in full transparency, I could probably be diagnosed with ADHD, ADD. Probably a lot of people who listening can relate to that. I think a lot of entrepreneurs live in that space. And so my thoughts can just spin. So I have to be really careful. So I refocus by talking, I ask myself, who do I need to talk to right now to spin back out of this? And then I have to have time on the calendar to do things like spending time with my 8-year-old, phenomenal. He just brings me back into reality. We live on a lake. Sometimes I just need to be on the water, just those things that bring me back to the present.
Awesome. I love it. Ursula, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah. So someone said this to me and it's really helped me over the last year. I think coming out of the pandemic, and John, my heart goes out to you and everyone in Southern Florida right now. This has just been thing after thing after, challenging, traumatic thing in the world. And it's easy to lose track of our dreams or give up on what we'd hoped for. And I just want to say this to everyone who's listening. It's not too late for whatever that is. It's just not. I know business owners in their 90s who are crushing it. So it's not too late, and just go back to the dream that you had before.
Love that. We all know of people, whether you realize it or not, who were bankrupt in their 50s. Totally. And went on. Let's talk. Colonel Sanders is probably the most well-known. Warren Buffett didn't hit that upswing until he was in his late 50s. So the key is you have to start. If you keep holding yourself back, you will remain back. So Ursula, I want to ask you one last question that wasn't on the list. So why did you write Up Level Now?
Kind of goes back to what I just shared, because I think a lot of people stop, or something stops them. They have this dream about their business or their life, or they think, especially women think, often will think if I have a 7-figure or multi-7-figure business, I'm not going to be there for my kids or my family. And that's a lie, because the truth is you could actually be there more. You could do whatever you wanted, right? Because the more you grow your company, scale it. And so Up Level Now was just inviting everyone to take a next step in some area in your life that needs attention right now, because then the domino effects kicks in. So if I take some steps in up leveling my business, that's going to have a domino effect into my personal life. It's going to improve other areas. And so it's just to get those dominoes moving. What's interesting is I wrote it before the pandemic, and then the pandemic stalled it. And then I realized, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we all need to be doing right now as we're coming through this time.
That's awesome.
Exactly what we all need to be doing right now.
Ursula, thank you. We've been speaking today with Ursula Mentjes. You've seen her on CBS, NBC News, Fox. She's Barnes & Noble best-selling author of Up Level Now, which is a fantastic book. I don't have it. I'm going to get it. And Ursula, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, John. Bye, everybody.
It is my pleasure, and thank you.